2025 and some current stats on where home prices and inventory and days on market have looked like for January 2025. So starting with a little bit of a forecast, price forecast, looks like we are going to possibly see some price appreciation this year. Various companies, and 21 of them, looks like we might have a price appreciation of 2.9%. So nothing crazy. We do have the housing center with almost 6%, and Moody's Analytics and Morgan Stanley saying that we're going to see some price depreciation. I definitely am going to put my money on a little bit of price appreciation, but probably hedge my bets and put it somewhere closer to the middle than any of the outer bounds there. But no in the future. So next, I want to just kind of share this quote, Greg McBride, who said rates were abnormally low for the better. They've been abnormally high for the last two. They're coming down, but they'll settle out. Is going to be a level that's higher than what we had seen before 2022. And yeah, I acknowledge that this is true, right? Over the past 15 years, we have seen much lower rates. And for the last two, they've been a lot higher than they've been since that point, which takes me to this slide here, where we see projections going. Some of the players in the world here, Wells Fargo, MBA, Fannie Mae, all have kind of some projections that it's going to stay somewhere in the low sixes. It's possible it could go a little bit lower, but really hard to know what that's going to look like. But interest rates are much higher than they were back in 2020, 2021. And that does add a little bit of money to the cost of the home on a monthly basis, and then obviously over the lifetime of that loan. Now, here are some thoughts on where interest rates will be at. The average is 6.36, but we see Redfin is up there at 6.8, and the National Association of Home Builders thinks it has a projection that we're in the low sixes of 6.12. Yeah, that's fair, I guess. Hard to know, right? I mean, how do they come up with these projections? What numbers are they calculating? What variables are they taking into account? But at the average rate over the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we're at the 2010s. You can see we're way below even what was in the 2000s, which again is thousands of dollars over the lifetime of a loan, and a good chunk of change on a monthly payment. And so right now we're at 6.1, which is still lower than the 80s, 90s, and the 70s, but much higher than it was in that 2010s and even into 2021. A couple more slides here that I want to share with you. Inventory forecasts, what we're kind of feeling like, and I agree. I do think inventory is going to go up. It's gone up in our area, which we'll get to in a second. But will it go up to double digits? Who knows? It depends on interest rates, depends on how well the economy's doing, how confident people are that if they bought a house that the property's not going to drop at any significant rate. As you saw a second ago, there's not a lot of projections that properties are going to drop this year, just a very small percentage increase. But Realtor is sitting around 12% of property prices increasing, and then Altos, which is a research firm that a lot of people use and rely on, has it somewhere around 15%. Now this last slide that I want to share talks about the total home sales forecasted to rise. So what that basically means is that there's going to be more homes that sell compared to 2023 and 2024, where we had about 4.8 and 4.6 in 2023 and 2024 respectively in the millions sold. But in 2025, there's a projection that there's going to be 5.1 million homes sold. So while properties are projected to be more prevalent on the market, we're also seeing that there's going to be a projection of more homes selling, which is good or bad depending on what side of the fence you're landing on. If I was working with a buyer and they told me that, hey, I'm thinking about buying in, February of 2026. I was like, okay, cool. Well, we're actually projecting more homes on the market, a 15% increase. And what that would mean for you as a buyer at that particular point is that you're going to have a good chunk of options. And depending on how much inventory we have at that particular point, in terms of how fast homes are selling, if homes are selling very quickly, even though there's more homes, it still mean that sellers have a lot of sway in how negotiations sort of flow. But if you happen to find yourself in a buyer's market or a more balanced market, that could bode well for you in terms of any negotiation possibilities you're looking for. If you're someone that needs some concessions, some credit in order to get a deal done or get into a property, that could be very much possible. So yeah, 5.1 million homes sold, quite a bit, but as you can see, it's still much short of what we were looking, how sales were going in 19, 20, and 21 there, and even 22 as rates started to bubble up. Some trend graphics about the Sacramento, Placer, El Dorado, Yolo counties. These are for single family properties over the last 13 months. We're just accounting for all types of properties here, from very small property, very large. So as you can see here, this current month versus over the last year, quite a bit more homes are for sale, almost a full 1,000. So what you can see here is that in 2024 February, we had 1,008 homes available, and this same at this time right now we have 2,861. So a nice bump in properties being available, but as you can see just below that, there's actually been a decrease in sales, close to 10%. And finally, pendings are up. So what we're seeing there is that there's just a few more properties that have gone under contract. Buyers have come in and tentatively made an offer to purchase a home. Next, I want to discuss the days on market and the sold list price percentage. So starting with the blue here, we can see that the average days on market is 51 days, and that's in January. And that time last year of 2024, we had 45 days. So the days on market have gone up a good amount, about 13%. And looking at the sold versus the original price, it's dropped just a smidge there at 1%. Now, for instance, if what that looks like is that if somebody was to sell a home for, let's say 800,000, and they sold it for 97% of that, that means that they ended up selling it for 776. Or if you just want to talk about straight dollars, $24,000 less. So that could bode well. Now, at this part of the year, of the season, home prices tend to dip a little bit just because there's a lot less activity in the market. What I typically, cite are that there's families are, visiting over holidays, or, there's if there's children, the kids are still in school, and so selling a house or wanting to buy a house and move away or out of a particular school district just doesn't make a lot of sense. But as we move towards the spring season and summer, you'll see home prices tick up a little bit on that sort of scale of activity. Now, looking at specifically February of last year compared to this year, the average days on market again has gone up, and the sold/original list price difference is the same, meaning that it hasn't changed. It was 98% last year, and this year we also find ourselves seeing homes sold for 80% of their original list price. So this is the average price for sale and the average price sold. So as you can see here, in January of 2024, the average active price was $901,000, and the average in January of 2025 is $805,000. So it's decreased quite a bit there, and 10.7% to be specific. And the average sold price has gone up a little bit. In January of 2024 is $620,000, but this year it's $646,000. So the average sale price just means that sellers were able to get a little bit more money for their particular properties, and active price reflects sellers being a little bit more cognizant of market conditions, recognizing that the market has shifted. Interest rate, the homes happen to be for sale, and so they're coming onto the market with a little bit lower of a price point to open themselves up to as many buyers as possible. Now, in terms of specific months here, February of 2024, we had active price coming onto the market at $910,000. And specifically for this February of 2025, it's down 12.5% at a $796,000 range. Average sold price is a little bit higher in terms of percent, which is just 2%. And so last year in February, we saw an average of $642,000 of homes were selling, but that's bumped up to $655,000. And the last graphic I'm going to show you are the months of inventory. So in January of 2024, we saw 1.7 homes available for sale, but that's bumped up a good amount, almost 50%, to 2.5 months. So that means about 75 days or so that a home will be on the market before it could possibly sell on average. These aren't finalized, this could change, so that's why I'm referencing both. But in February of 2024, we were 1.6, and currently, based on some of the data we have available, it's actually 2.7, so it's a little bit higher compared to last month. It's actually 70% above the same point it was last year. So a lot longer people are waiting to see things. So lastly, I want to show you this article that came through and waiting. So it says that insurance rates will increase for some homeowners after 2 California carriers are given a go-ahead. And so just a quick AI summary. California regulators the California regulators approved a rate hikes for Mercury General and Safeco. Safeco is a subsidiary of Liberty Mutual, but this is going to be impacting somewhere around 666,000 customers between the both of the insurance companies, and they cited construction costs, material costs as the reason for the increase. The article also talked about the FAIR Plan, which basically is a state-sponsored insurer that Californians can go to if they absolutely need to. And they were looking for quite an input of capital to the tune of $1 billion to cover some of the wildfire claims that have struck in our fellow Californians down there in SoCal. So something to be mindful of if you're insured by Mercury General or Safeco, that they're going to be increasing their costs. In the article I saw that it could be between like 2 and 15%. I know that from what I read that Mercury General also includes condos, and but Safeco doesn't, based on what the article talks about. If you want to read it entirely, it's on sfgate.com, and if you just Google that title, I'm sure it'll pop up for you. Well, that's what I got for you so far. I hope something interested you or you found some value out of it. If you did, I would appreciate a like, you subscribe, and if you have any comments, I'd love to reply to them. So thanks for hanging out, and let me share some of this data with you. My name is McDowell III. I'm a real estate agent here in Sacramento, and I will talk to you all soon.